Okay, you're making a racist
People
comment right
can't
now?
stand you being
Oh,
here.
great.
You play games. We don't play games.
Oh, what kind of game are you playing?
I play games where you get to death.
Come back, ma'am. Come back. Count one will be 10,000.
Are you serious?
I am serious. Adios.
Karens come in all shapes and sizes, but you can always count on them to pop up when you least expect it and get outraged at the strangest possible things, like these people who were just enjoying a day at the park. In 2020, 3 different people who were just going about their day in Torrance, California were insulted by a nightmarish woman.
Go back to whatever Asian country you belong in.
Okay, race.
She quickly got the name Grandma Karen after being bizarrely aggressive to anyone with a different skin color from her. First, she went after a woman jogging in Wilson Park. She seemed to think that the woman was blocking the staircase, but I think that it was just an excuse for this attack.
Next time you ever talk to me like that, you're gonna get your kicked by my family. They're gonna you up. This is not your place. This is not your home. We do not want you here.
Then, a guy just trying to park his car in the same park. This 42-year-old dad and his 2 kids seemed too close for her comfort.
Respect. Respect people. Lady.
I can understand your language.
Respect.
It's kind of breathtaking how vile she's being.
You're
Do you
making
know
a
how many
racist comment
people
right
can't
now?
stand you being
Oh,
here?
great.
You play games. We don't play games.
Oh, what kind of game are you playing?
I play games where you get to death.
Make a racist comment?
You know what? I am not a racist person.
You just made a
But you know
racist
what?
comment.
You need to go home.
I am from here.
She quickly was identified as Lena Hernandez, 56 years old. And once her face was out there, she soon got linked to another case at an airport from October that year. In this photo, she's even wearing the same outfit.
This unfortunate incident involved an older female suspect verbally assaulting a custodian and then physically assaulting another individual who was acting as a good Samaritan.
The woman Lena attacked was standing up for the restroom cleaner, and she immediately recognized Lena's nightmarish voice when she heard it on the news. The victim, Casey Lynn Samelio, said,
"That's a voice you don't forget. That's a face you don't forget. Especially what she had done to me." Crazy lady points down at me and says, "You better not get the F up or else." And then I get up, of course, and then that's when she physically grabs my hair and pushes me down and starts punching the back of my head.
The city attorneys made sure that Grandma Karen had no place to hide.
We are looking at that aspect, that there is mental illness involved in all of these incidents.
But Lena faced her day in court. Her case ultimately went to a plea deal, pleading no contest to all the charges. Grandma Karen was handed 45 days in jail and had to do a year of anger management. But Casey Lynn Salemio wasn't convinced that this would be enough.
What she did was violent. It was a violent attack to me. So it should have been the maximum amount of 6 months.
And what kind of message does it send to other perpetrators, other people, other violent racists out there, that you can just assault someone, you can push them to the ground and only walk away with a 45-day sentence?
So be careful in Cali, because Lena's probably still walking around out there storing up her crazy anger for her next unfortunate person. It's so weird how many people just lash out over the smallest thing. In Jacksonville, Florida, during the height of the pandemic in June 2020, a woman was having a massive argument with some workers at a Pier 1 store.
Do you really need this? What do you want to do? Post it for you? How about that? Good.
That woman was Deborah Jo Hunter, a 52-year-old mom who refused to wear a mask in the store. The argument had gone on for about 15 minutes when Heather Sparg began to record it to protect the staff. Deborah spotted her filming and also turned on Heather. She got really aggressive.
I think I'll get real close to you and hop on you then. How's that?
While this was already a super gross thing to do, especially during the pandemic, Heather Sprague was also at risk from illness it could cause. You see, Heather was getting treatment for a brain tumor, so she was really worried that catching anything from Deborah's deliberate coughing could make her fatally ill.
What I recall is weeks of worrying about every little tickle in the throat. Is that a COVID symptom?
Because of the state of emergency, it took Heather a long time to get fully tested for infection and even where to go to get it. and it also cost her a fortune. But luckily, the C test came back negative after 5 days. But Deborah really had to pay for all of the stress and worry she'd caused. The police took charge and she was arrested. They charged her for misdemeanor assault. This finally brought home Deborah just how badly she'd behaved.
I'm aware that my shame and regret will follow me the rest of my life. My family has been permanently scarred. My children are continually embarrassed by what I did.
Nobody would be friends with her family anymore, and the neighbors completely ignore them.
I think the hardest part of this is that video shows me in the worst possible light on my worst possible day, and that's not who I am. And if I could take it all back.
She seems sorry, but if anything had happened to Heather because of this, it would have left her 10 children without a mom. And yes, some of those kids were adopted into the family. But in Deborah's defense, her own family had just lost everything they owned in a house fire. And it's possible that her extreme anger came from repressing all of that grief.
It just kept piling on and piling on and piling on, and I just kept trying to push it down. Unfortunately, for Miss Sprague, she was the recipient of that, and for that I apologize.
After hearing both sides, Judge James Ruth decided there wasn't quite enough of an apology from Deborah.
What concerns me, she talked about what impact it had on her children and her family, but I haven't heard about the potential deadly impact this could have had on the victim.
The judge then handed out his sentence.
So I will adjudicate you guilty, place you on 6 months probation, also anger management, and 30 days Duval County Jail.
So even wearing a mask in her own home didn't get this Karen off the hook. But these Karen attacks can really just erupt out of the blue, over nothing and without any basis in reality. Like, imagine being randomly accused of stealing a phone and attacked by someone who literally comes out of nowhere. In December 2020, a 14-year-old boy was leaving the Arlo, a fancy Soho hotel in Manhattan, when this happened. This crazy lady then started accusing him of taking her iPhone.
Please get my phone back. I cannot not have my phone.
Listen, get your ass.
The woman was Maya Pancetto from Peru, California, and this wasn't even her first time getting police attention. In 2020, she'd already been publicly drunk in a Beverly Hills hotel and charged for a serious DUI.
In February, she was arrested for public intoxication at a Beverly Hills hotel. Then in May, she was arrested again, this time charged with a DUI. Her sentence included probation, community service, and 9 months of alcohol counseling.
But what she did in New York was very scary for the kid she attacked. Keon Harold Jr. is the son of a fairly well-known jazz musician, and he and his dad were enjoying some quality time together when Mia went off on him in the hotel lobby.
I mean, I don't know what would have happened if my dad wasn't there. Still kind of shell-shocked.
But she also made the mistake of talking to CBS about what she did, and she literally described herself as a super sweet person.
You're 22 years old, but you are old enough to know better.
Enough. The footage shows me attacking his son. Attacking him how? Yelling at him? Yes. Okay, I apologize. Can we move on?
It just wasn't sinking in that she'd done anything wrong, and she didn't really back down about her actions during the interview.
How is one girl accusing a guy about a phone a crime? Where is the context in that?
Mia,
what is the deeper
Mia,
story
it's
here?
not, that's not the problem. You have to at least understand your actions that day.
At one point, she did apologize, but in the lamest way possible.
I admit, yes, I could have approached the situation differently, some sort of inferior way, hurting his feelings.
But Keon's family wanted an example made of Maya. So Maya was arrested just a few hours after that interview. Even with sirens coming after her, she ignored reality. The cops tried to pull her over, but she didn't comply. She drove all the way home and then refused to get out of her car. And so,
deputies forcibly removed her from the vehicle and arrested her.
Maya finally went to court and was charged with unlawful imprisonment as a hate crime, aggravated harassment, endangering the welfare of a child. This is on top of that DUI from earlier in 2020. In court, Maya pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 2 years of probation, meaning she avoided serving any prison time for this. But Keon's dad, who recorded it all, made the point that if this had happened the other way around, it probably would have gone very differently.
If I had done that, what Maya Pensada done to my son, I'd be in jail now.
Oh, and if you were still wondering who did have Maya's missing phone, her Uber driver had returned it to the Arlo Hotel reception desk just before she decided a random teenager had stolen it. But at least she behaved herself in court, unlike these Karens. It shouldn't be surprising that the worst Karens who can't control themselves in public also can't control themselves in court. And a judge is the one person you really want to be polite to. Well, these Karens all acted like they were above the law. There was an unusual sight in court on February 24th, 2013. 17-year-old Penelope Soto from Florida was charged with possession of Xanax bars. This illegal substance can cause irritability, aggression, and hyperactive behavior. And perhaps her public defender should have checked the state of his client before she went up, because even as Judge Jorge Rodriguez Chamat starts reading the charges, it's clear that something isn't right with her.
Morning, Soto. You're being charged with possession of Xanax. B-A-R-S. I don't know what that is. What is that?
Xanax bars. That's how they refer to it.
Xanax bars.
Bizarrely, Penelope is giggling and laughing, possibly trying to be cute, but she's clearly taken something that altered her approach to reality. Nobody is that perky and flirty in court, right? There were some questions about how much she earned and what she owed in order to decide on her bail bond. But Penelope kept right on giggling.
What do you own?
I own a lot of jewelry, all right, as well as
Go ahead.
a car.
Well, how much would you say your jewelry is worth? It's not a joke, you know. We are not in a club now.
Okay, but it's
we are not in a club. Be serious about it.
I'm serious about it.
You're being very. I can see you're serious, all right.
You just made me laugh. I apologize.
It's all right. How much is your jewelry worth?
It's worth a lot of money.
Like what?
Like.
Huh?
It's worth money.
The fact that she kept on giggling made Judge Jorge pretty suspicious.
Ma'am?
Money.
Have you had any kind of drugs in the last 24 hours?
Actually, no.
Penelope might have denied it, but that couldn't have just been nerves. Could it? After that weird interview, Penelope's bond was set at about $5,000. But then she did this.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
I know the judge was being snippy, but being snippy back isn't the sanest move. He laughs, but he is also not gonna stand for any back-talking in his court. So Penelope is about to have a nasty surprise.
Come back, ma'am. Come back. Come back. Give me the paper again. Count one would be 10,000.
Are you serious?
I am serious. Adios.
The whole court kind of erupted at this, and she looks totally amazed at the consequences. But there's even worse to come. And guys, definitely don't do this in court. What happens next is not a surprise.
Come back again. Come back again. Bring her back again.
What's up?
I believe I heard you saying to...
Yes, I did. I'm not going to do
I believe you... Did you say...
Yes,
me?
Actually, I
Did you say that?
Yes, sir, I did.
Oh, you did say that?
I'm not
I find you in direct criminal contempt. 30 days in the county jail.
Her future seemed really bleak. But after 4 days to think things through and sober up, Penelope went through another hearing and had another chance to behave herself. And this time, she had the sense to really apologize.
Yes, I understand completely, and I apologize.
I know I make you laugh, but it's all right. I don't cry. I'm not a monster. Go ahead, tell me.
And I normally don't act like that.
Judge Jorge generously gave Penelope another chance and removed the 30-day sentence, but he strongly recommended therapy for her addictions. Another woman in serious need of therapy is Amanda Stiles. At a Zoom call hearing over divorce and custody, she is being asked some routine questions, and she sabotages herself throughout this important call.
Yes, sir. Get us off of your docket is what you could do. Go ahead, Lacey. Start talking.
A custody evaluation was completed, and so we have filed a motion for
blah, 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 blah.
The judge doesn't have the strongest voice, and she basically tries to walk all over him.
I need to pause the hearing. I don't have an attorney. Can you give me some time to get an attorney? I haven't had adequate time. I'm going to need one appointed by the state.
That's not an option.
Even if the court is online, you're meant to act like you're there for real.
We are now setting this hearing is for our motion.
She also represents Cody and also fucking sit there.
Okay, so Ms. Stiles, I'll unmute you in just a second. You need to let Ms. Kimball finish what she's saying, and then when you're talking, she'll let you say what you're saying.
Amanda was asked to take a psychological exam and pay her ex-husband's attorney's fees. But when asked if she objected to taking a test for she said,
I'm not going to pay for it because I'll tell you up front I'll fall for marijuana.
When was the last
time?
But
I'm happy to take it on
when was the last time you took?
I use it daily. All day, every day.
Okay. The judge was quickly getting sick of her.
I'm glad to take
Stop.
Okay, go. It's going to be on his expense, but I'm
Stop. I'm pretty low key. We're in court.
fed up with Miss Kimball.
You need to be respectful.
Bear in mind, this is a custody battle.
Not really every day, but I use it daily, if that helps you with your interpretations.
I'm not interpreting. I just said what you said.
You might notice that even the victim advocate gives up here. Then the judge asked if she would do a psyche evaluation. This went down about as well as you'd expect.
I'm not doing it, and you cannot force me to do it. You cannot physically make me go and show up and partake in anything that I do not want to partake in. Yes or no? Do you agree or not agree?
You don't get to ask me questions right now.
I'm not doing a psych eval, and you cannot make it mandatory.
I mean, clearly she needs some help. There's something missing here, don't you think?
Have you read their discovery? When are you going to view my videos?
Ma'am, you need to answer my question.
I answered your goddamn question.
The judge gives a long pause at this and warns her, so she switches off the camera before returning. She gets warned.
If you do that again, I'm gonna sanction you $100 for every time that you swear in court, because that's not appropriate. You just need to not do it.
She's been muted again, but her body language is insane. And I don't think she realizes that they can't hear her, but they still had to find out what days she could give evidence.
What dates?
Ms. Kimball, do you have proposed dates?
I can. I would propose.
And whose expense? Mine? Because if it's mine, I'm not doing it. Sanction, give me $100 fee. Woo,
Okay,
woo.
well, so I am finding you in direct contempt.
Okay, one fine.
Finding you $100.
Okay, one more try.
The 30th or the 2nd?
Yep. Which of those dates works better for you, Ms. Stiles?
What time, dumbass? 3 contempts.
The judge barely showed emotion at this insult, but he also seems to get tense, and it gets even crazier.
What date?
Stiles, that question is to you. Never mind.
I said what time?
Time,
date? You know, these things.
Look, you don't get to do this. for your own pocketbook, I'm muting you for, all right, I'm going to count that as another violation.
And when she was done, the judge rounded off that disaster by saying,
for the deposition, she didn't have any objection. I'm going to note for my own record that she opted out after flipping me off.
Maybe people act differently at court if it's a Zoom call, but somehow I think she'd be almost the same when she's not cozy at home. At least he could mute her online. In real life, I bet these next judges would have loved to have a mute button to deal with the Karens in their courtrooms. In March 2021, Marlena Palvos Hackney from Holland, Michigan, was having some major business trouble. Her diner, Marlena's Bistro and Pizzeria, was forced to close for 5 months after the health authorities reported her in late February and suspended her food license. The diner wasn't up to the safety regulations required during the virus, and even when she protested this in court, Marlena didn't mask up. She also didn't know when to shut up.
Ma'am, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
I would like to call...
Ma'am, stop.
The judge told her off, but Marlena just kept on making the situation worse for herself, and the judge wasn't putting up with it.
I know you want to control this room, but this isn't Burger King. When the sign changes to Burger King, you can have it your way. Right now, this is my courtroom, and you will answer my questions. Stop!
And then, when the judge finally got the whole question out, Marlena went completely silent.
Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury? Yes or no? Are you going to tell the truth? All right, I'll take that as silence.
Only to break the peace again a second later.
Where is her attorney?
He's their jig right now.
Again, say anything again without telling me you're going to tell the truth, and I will hold you in contempt of court for 93 days. You will not act disrespectful in this court. Do you understand, ma'am? You certainly may remain silent. Where is your attorney?
For this bad behavior, Marlena received 93 days in jail and was fined $15,000 for contempt of court charges. And FYI, this is Judge Rosemarie Anquilina, the same judge who sentenced Larry Nassar, a total creep who I covered in another video.
Would you like to withdraw your plea?
No.
Because you are guilty, aren't you? And the word treatment. It was not treatment, what you did. It was not medical.
She really doesn't mess around in her courtroom. In the end, Marlena's food license was restored and she reopened her diner in September 2021. But she could have got there more smoothly if she'd answered when she was supposed to. But in far more serious cases where someone has passed away, it's unbelievable that a Karen's entitled behavior still goes on. Now, in any court case, the family impact statements are usually the hardest part to listen to. They're an insight into the heartbreaking damage that someone's caused, so how could anyone laugh when they're being read out? This Karen giggled during a really tragic case, but the Karen wasn't who you might first think. During the summer of 2017, Amanda Kosel, aged 25 years old, from Michigan, admitted that she was dangerously drunk after she smashed into an SUV. She ended the life of Jerome Zerker, aged 31, and horribly injured his fiancée, Brittany Johnson.
And then all I know is it was like a bang and everything was just over.
Even sadder, they had 5 children between them. So now, Amanda Kosel was facing up to 15 years in prison. Amanda looked totally devastated by what she'd done, and the impact statement by Jerome's sister, Darlene Zerker, was heartbreaking.
Amanda, look what you did to my life.
You ruined everything I had.
While at least Amanda is tearful, there's something else going on at the back of the court. Judge Lillard was totally shocked to hear a girl giggling in the back of the courtroom as the relatives were reading. First, she kicked out the man she saw laughing, but a woman followed him.
You can go too. Whoever can sit here at a tragic moment like this and laugh and smile when somebody has lost a family member, this is a court of law. You cannot come down to the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice and act any way you want to act.
As she went into the hall, she made even more noise. I mean, who the heck does that? And this was Amanda's mom, Donna. Amanda was still standing in front of the judge waiting for her verdict, and now her own mom was creating a huge scene. Donna enraged the judge so much that she was called back in.
Ma'am, you are being taken into custody for criminal contempt. Your disruptive and disrespectful behavior disrupted today's proceedings, and you, ma'am, are going to the Wayne County Jail for 93 days for direct criminal contempt.
Donna was facing a scary amount of time in jail for this. As they took her out in handcuffs, Judge Lillard also gave the rest of the court a warning.
These are very serious matters, and I understand you all are upset because your loved one is going to prison, but guess what? She's going to prison for the choices that she made.
Once everyone had calmed down, Amanda faced the music.
It'll be the sentence of this court that you will serve 3 to 15 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections.
That wasn't much of a shock to anyone, but I really hope Jerome's family got some closure from that. Donna Kosel returned to face Judge Lillard the next day, and after a day in jail, she definitely looked humbled. But first, the judge really wanted to explain why she'd been out of line.
Although some people might think laughing is harmless, it was only a matter of time before the family of the victim became upset or angered after that kind of behavior, and I couldn't risk some sort of a fight or some sort of disturbance going on in the courtroom.
Donna's defense attorney reported that she also had a history of panic attacks and was also on medication, but the judge was most interested in Donna's apology.
I deeply apologize for what I did. I was under a lot of stress. I'm going through some doctor's appointments today for my heart. It's just everything overwhelmed, and I deeply apologize for what I did in your court. I just needed to get out, and it's been very hard for me this year, and I know for the other family, and I'm so sorry for what I did, and I know it was wrong, and I apologize.
Have to say, she seems like she means it. Judge Lillard was forgiving and totally accepted her apology. More importantly, she didn't blame Donna's daughter for any of the bad behavior. She was also very merciful with Donna's final sentence.
So I will modify your sentence for direct criminal contempt from 93 days to 1 day with credit for time served, and you should be released today.
Despite Amanda being sentenced to 3 to 15 years in prison, she only served 3 years and was paroled in February 2020. But another way to really annoy a judge in court is to just waste their time. In this case from Detroit, Michigan, here's a Karen who's actually called Karen and known as Karen Stevens. She's attempting to get a restraining order lifted against her by her ex-attorney, Paul Nicoletti.
May it please the court, Your Honor. Paul Nicoletti appearing on behalf of myself.
That's attorney Paul Nicoletti, who's in court because of an ongoing feud with a former client.
But there's something odd here, and Judge Martha Anderson is trying to find out exactly what she wants.
Your Honor, find the case Nicoletti versus Stevens, case number 0672178-2PH.
Next, we take you inside the Oakland County Circuit Court near Detroit, Michigan. The judge is Martha Anderson.
Good afternoon, Judge. Karen Stevens, in pro per for my motion for sanctions against Mr. Nicoletti for this vexatious and frivolous PPO.
A PPO is a personal protection order. Nicoletti petitioned for it. However, this Karen got a little bit above herself.
Ms. What? I have a motion for sanctions against...
I know that. And the purpose of the sanctions are based on what?
It was a frivolous and vexatious PPO based on nonsense. I am not stalking Mr. Nicoletti.
I haven't signed a PPO.
The judge is already confused, and this Karen just digs herself deeper.
His petition for a PPO. Let me...
Were you served?
No, I wasn't, but...
No, you may not. How can you ask to sanction someone when you haven't even been served?
That's the point.
Ms. Stevens, do not interrupt me when I'm speaking, ma'am.
Turns out you can't lift something that doesn't exist, no matter how many large words you throw at the judge. And the judge is just riled up at this point.
I have a constitutional right to be heard.
On what basis? There is no case before me, ma'am, other than the fact that you filed this frivolous motion, taking up this court's time for no good reason other than your own personal vendetta against this man. I did not issue a PPO.
I mean, you can see why the judge kind of loses it here. And the Karen pays a heavy price, like literally.
And here you are taking up my time so that you want me to chastise him and make him pay money? No, ma'am. Your relief is denied, and in addition to that, I am sanctioning you with costs of $500.
Karen Stevens was totally overruled by common sense, but she now thinks that there's something underhanded going on.
I knew it was fixed.
I beg your pardon?
I knew it was fixed.
Miss Stevens, I highly suggest that you just exit my courtroom and go pay the sanctions before I find you in contempt.
You won't believe that this Karen ended up in front of the same judge just 4 months later after a clerical error. The court only took $5 from that $500 fine. At first, Karen refused to go through with the rest of the payment.
I have my credit card, but I did file an objection and an answer to this order to show cause that wasn't properly served, didn't have an affidavit of merit.
But now, the judge just sounds like he wants her out of court ASAP.
Ms. Stevens, do you have $495 with which to pay today?
I just said I have my credit card. I do not have cash.
Very well then, Ms. Stevens. You may go down to the clerk's office, pay $495 forthwith to take care of the $500.
But Karen pushed back again. Read the room.
I'm entitled to know what statutes or court rules you rely on to sanction me in the first place. That's part of due process.
Ms. Stevens, do you wish to comply with my request, or do you wish me to find you?
Is it a court order? I need a court order.
Ms. Stevens, my clerk will call down to the clerk's office and let them know you are coming.
There will be no court orders, what you're saying?
Ms. Stevens, please do as I've directed you to do. Thank you.
Ultimately, this Karen ended up paying both the whole fine and Nicoletti's court fees. Sometimes you've just got to shut up or get a real lawyer who knows what they're talking about. But sometimes even the law professionals can be total Karens. And then you get a rare male Karen. Yes, they do exist. Sometimes they're even judges. On September 4th, 2018, Cassandra Jackson was trying to get a protection order filed at a Cincinnati courtroom, but unfortunately, she missed the 8 a.m. cutoff deadline by half an hour. She began yelling and screaming, which isn't a great look, but it's definitely understandable that her emotions would be running wild. We can't hear any of what happens on the video because the court's video is completely silent, but Cassandra's screaming really enraged the magistrate judge working in the courtroom at the end of that tiny corridor. The judge, Michael Batchman, charged outside and went looking for Cassandra.
Hey, you, get back here! That's a magistrate in full judicial robe storming out of his courtroom and chasing down a woman.
Cassandra had left for the elevators, but Batchman chased her down the hallway.
Watch as he takes off after her, running through the hallways. When he finally catches up with her, he orders her back to his courtroom.
Catching up to her at the elevators, he frog-marched Cassandra back to the courtroom. And you can see here that he stops her from turning away by gripping her shoulder and forcing her around.
And when she makes a wrong turn, he puts the long arm of the law on her shoulder, steering her in the correct direction.
He tells her she'll be arrested for contempt of court and tries to sentence her for 3 days in jail for disrespectful and disruptive behavior. 2 officers go after her and she tries to get the hell out of there. She keeps resisting and gets hauled away in handcuffs. That's a lot of guys for one woman. Cassandra was then formally charged and she kept trying to resist, perhaps because she was thinking of her kids. So they put her into a wheelchair and wheeled her into custody like she's Hannibal Lecter. She was sentenced to 10 days for contempt, but thankfully this was overturned after 2 days by another judge who realized this treatment was completely unfair. Judge Batchman paid a heavy price for getting so hands-on with Cassandra. He ultimately resigned from his job. And here's another judge who really should have known better. And he also should remember that nobody in court really has a sense of humor. In Newark, New Jersey, on January 4th, 2008, Judge James Convery was overseeing a divorce case. Benjamin Taylor was getting divorced, supported by his attorney, Yvette Ramos Alvarez. And that's his ex-wife. Or she will be soon. Their divorce seemed completed up until the ex-wife suddenly requested to know her ex-husband's Social Security earnings statements, which he didn't have. Judge seems annoyed by that.
He gets his Social Security every year indicating the earnings statement. He gets his earnings statement. He gets it. He gets it every year. So she asked for it. Why didn't he provide it? He doesn't have it.
Yvette claimed that even she hadn't received one of them for the last 3 years.
So she asked for it. Why didn't he provide it? He doesn't have it. He threw it away? I would presume he did. Oh, come on.
The judge wasn't buying the story. He did a quick poll of the courtroom to ask if everyone received it every year. But Yvette claims she'd only received it once in the last 4 years. At this statement, the judge insults her.
Well, when did you become an illegal alien?
That was a very poor choice of words. She was highly insulted.
Judge, I am going to... That was a totally inappropriate comment.
I didn't mean it. I'm only... listen to me.
He tried to walk it back, but it was no good and she stormed out. Yvette did return and the judge also apologized, but she still filed a misconduct report and he was publicly reprimanded by the Jersey Supreme Court.
Well, I was going to say, this nut mother... son...
Hey, stop that woman from leaving the room. She should be arrested.
That's not more.
Whether it's in real life or on the internet, at some point, we've nearly all encountered a Karen. They can be some of the most unreasonable people to deal with and have a way of making an already bad situation even worse. But sometimes even the most obnoxious Karens meet their match, and often this happens inside a courtroom. So let's take a look at the most jaw-dropping moments from Karens who got owned by the judges. The term Karen has become a huge part of popular culture, thanks mainly to social media. It's a slang word used to describe a particular type of person, and where a Karen goes, trouble usually follows. Now, we don't literally mean that every person named Karen behaves like the ones we'll see today, but the term has definitely been used to describe those who are demanding and entitled. Usually, Karens complain, make unreasonable demands, and often ask to speak with a manager or authority figure in various customer service or public situations. The term also has its critics, with many saying that it creates negative stereotypes and prompts negative behavior towards individuals who might bear the name. But generally, it's used for fun and intended to be a harmless way of calling out people who are being obnoxious and downright rude. There are also male versions of Karens, and we like to call them Kevins. Together, they can cause chaos in the courtroom. As this first case proves, honesty is not always the best policy. When one defendant failed to appear in court the first time around, this judge had plenty to say.
I was paying. I just missed the court date. I got caught up Thanksgiving. You absolutely forgot.
What am I supposed to do? What does the victim in your case wants her money?
But this judge wasn't just having a bad day. He was standing up for the rights of the victim in this case.
I have to answer to them. They say, Judge, he doesn't pay. What are you doing about it, Judge? What are you doing?
And some cases can even get a little extreme, like when this next defendant pretends like he's having a mental episode. At first, everything seems fine, but when the defendant's lawyer starts to speak, chaos follows.
I have reason to believe that competency is an issue in this case.
Well, I was going to say, this nut mother... son...
James Holmes is one of the most infamous names on this list. On July 20th, 2012, a mass tragedy occurred inside a Century 16 movie theater in Aurora, Colorado, United States, and Holmes was the man responsible. The trial would attract media from all over the world, and after he was found guilty, he would once again face a judge to find out his final punishment at his sentencing. District Attorney George Brochler was arguing against the defense pleas that their client was innocent. He argued, "Is mental illness going to be a shield here to protect someone who had the capacity to make decisions? Nobody in their right mind could plan the massacre of a theater full of human beings. We should take comfort in that. But not having the right mind does not protect you from the ramifications of your decisions." In the courtroom was Deborah Cave, and she voiced her disagreement, disrupting the proceedings. She was heard shouting that mental illness is real and that Brochler was wrong. She was held in contempt of court and sentenced to 3 weeks in county jail. This next case starts off like any other, with the defendant appearing a little out of it, but still answering the questions put to him.
He withdrew, so you'll have to hire an attorney?
I don't need an attorney.
But soon the scene turns sour, and the defendant decides to make the situation as difficult as possible.
You're a lawyer?
Nope.
Clearly, this defendant is not ready to cooperate.
Want to talk to me about me at bond with me? What do you want to tell me?
About what?
Bond.
I don't really give a to be honest with you.
Cost you 30 days in the county jail for contempt. Cuff him if you got the cuffs.
Now, you'd think that 30 days incarceration for contempt of court would be enough to put anybody in their place. But this Kevin has only just begun.
Hold on, it's $5,000 cash surety bond, subject to the temporary protection order. He just swore at the judge.
The judge gives him his final warning.
Can I give you a piece of advice?
What?
You can either make life easy or you can make life hard.
I already ruined my life.
That's 60. You want to go for 90?
And then the court erupted into chaos.
That's not more. That's 180. That's 306.
The defendant ignored the pleas to stop and made things even worse than they already were.
And now I gotta come here and my life up. You. No, and stop. How many days you want to give me now? Are you sure counting? No.
Yeah, I'm at about a year right now in contempt, so.
All his bad attitude got him was a lengthy stint in jail. Next, another judge intended to keep control of the courtroom when confronted with a Karen. Right from the start, this defendant wants to do things her way, something this judge will not stand for.
Ma'am, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, whole truth?
But this Karen had other ideas.
And nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury.
Once again, the defendant decided to interrupt the judge.
I would like to call... Ma'am, stop.
And then the defendant gets put in her place by the frustrated judge.
I know you want to control this room, but this isn't Burger King. When the sign changes to Burger King, you can have it your way. Right now, this is my courtroom, and you will answer my questions.
But the defendant would not listen and tried again to take charge, something she would later regret.
Stop! Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury? Yes or no? Again, say anything again without telling me you're going to tell the truth, and I will hold you in contempt of court for 93 days.
But that is nothing compared to the next judge when she faces a woman who wants to do things her way.
For my motion for sanctions against Mr. Nicoletti for this vexatious and frivolous PPO.
I'm sorry, on his what?
This is Miss Stevens, and what she's trying to say is that Mr. Nicoletti has put out a personal protection order against her, otherwise known as a restraining order, but she claims he has no right to, and it should be dismissed.
I have a motion for sanctions against...
I know that. And the purpose of the sanctions are based on what?
It was a frivolous and vexatious PPO based on nonsense.
But the judge soon realized something was not right.
I haven't signed a PPO.
his petition for a PPO. Let me.
Okay, were you served?
And then the Karen drops a bombshell.
No, I wasn't, but may
No, you may not. How can you ask to sanction someone when you haven't even been served?
That's the point.
Stevens, do not interrupt me when I'm speaking, ma'am.
The courtroom must be tense at this point, but it's about to explode when Miss Stevens unleashes her inner Karen.
I have a constitutional right to be heard.
On what basis? There is no case before me, ma'am, other than the fact that you filed this frivolous motion taking up this court's time for no good reason other than your own personal vendetta against this man for whatever reason you may have, and I really don't care because it does not involve me or my court. However, had I issued a PPO, you would have a basis to be before me. I did not issue a PPO.
The judge wasn't going to let her get away with wasting the court's time. That would be the point that most of us would back off. But this Karen hasn't finished yet, and she won't accept defeat.
I knew it was fixed.
I beg your pardon?
I knew it was fixed.
Miss Stevens, I highly suggest that you just exit my courtroom and go pay the sanctions.
Had Miss Stevens continued, it's likely that she would have been held in contempt of court and faced jail time. Thankfully, she knew when to quit, unlike what we are about to see in this next case. This is Melissa Carone, who you might remember from one of the most famous court moments of 2020. Carone was representing Donald Trump in the electoral fraud case, and she had made some wild claims about the list of registered voters. Sat with one of Trump's closest allies, Rudy Giuliani, Carone was a contractor for Dominion, who made the voting machines that were used in the 2019 US election. She was being questioned by Michigan Representative Steve Johnson.
The poll book is completely off. Completely off.
Off by 30,000?
I'd say that poll book is off by over 100,000.
Carone is trying to claim that a large number of the votes counted were from people who should not have been able to vote.
That poll book, why don't you look at the registered voters on there? How many registered voters are on there? Do you even know the answer to that?
No, I guess I'm trying to get to the bottom of this here.
Zero. There's zero.
Giuliani tries to calm Carone down, but she has only just started.
How many? Wait. What about the turnout rate? 120%.
Let's let Representative Johnson ask his question.
So the poll book number. Okay, there's two things that could happen here. Either the poll book number. If ballots were counted multiple times, there's two options. Option number one is that the poll book numbers are not going to match.
They don't.
The actual. Not by thousands and thousands of votes. That's not what we see right now.
Take a look again. Take a look again.
Option number two is that they essentially were filling in names of people who didn't vote.
Dead people too?
For everything Johnson says, Carone has an answer for. And even suggests the representative might be involved in the alleged fraud.
We're not seeing the poll book off by 30,000 votes. That's not the case.
What did you guys do? Take it and do something crazy to it?
I'm just saying the numbers are not off by 30,000 votes. So
I know what I
saying
saw.
That they're filling in?
I know what I saw, and I signed something saying that if I'm wrong, I can go to prison. Did you?
Refusing to believe she is wrong, Carone turns full Karen and blames anyone and everyone instead.
Wildly off, and dead people voted, and illegals voted.
Okay.
So that's my answer.
Next, one clip that sent the internet into a frenzy and became known as the Courtroom Dive. This next incredible clip is not actually from a courtroom, but from a council meeting in 2007. During the meeting in Carson, California, ex-mayor Vera DeWitt and city commissioner Jan Schaefer had disagreed on several points.
That's all.
Thank you. The next speaker is Marvin Clayton.
But before Mr. Clayton can get his chance to speak, DeWitt has one more point to make.
Hey, stop that woman from leaving the room. She should be arrested.
The clip appeared during the early days of YouTube and has become a huge part of internet history, in part thanks to the overreaction from Schaefer. DeWitt was eventually charged with battery, but managed to negotiate a settlement that would avoid legal proceedings. She ended up paying a fine of $1,500 with 100 hours of community service, and she also had to attend anger management classes. When a judge tells you not to treat the courtroom like it's a joke, you'd better listen. Otherwise, the consequences can be costly, as the next young woman discovered.
Money making week approximately.
Approximately about $200 a week.
Okay, and do you own any property of value? A house, a car, bank account, significant amounts of jewelry?
Yes.
What do you own?
I own a lot of jewelry, all right, as well as
Go ahead.
a car.
Well, how much would you say your jewelry is worth? It's not a joke, you know. We're not in a club now.
For a moment, it looks like she might start taking the proceedings more seriously.
I apologize.
It's all right. How much is your jewelry worth?
Then the defendant delivers a lesson in how to not behave in a courtroom.
It's worth a lot of money.
Like what?
Like Rick Ross.
Huh?
It's worth
Ma'am,
money.
have you had any kind of in the last 24 hours?
Actually, no.
Actually, no. This is standard bond.
Okay, 5,000 on count one, and then the rest should be ROR.
That would have been the end of the matter, but the defendant decided to joke along one too many times.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Although the judge sees the funny side, he still wants to teach the defendant a valuable lesson.
Come back, ma'am. Come back. Come back. Give me the paper again. Count one will be 10,000.
Are you serious?
I am serious. Adios.
This would be the point where most of us would accept defeat and move on, but this defendant wants to make life even harder for herself.
Come back again. Come back again. Bring him back again. I believe I heard you saying to...
Yes, I did. I'm not going to the...
I believe you... Did you say...
Actually, I
Did you say that?
Yes, sir, I did.
Oh, you did say that? I find you in direct criminal contempt.
She would be sent to county jail for 30 days for her courtroom outburst. Maybe she can spend those 30 days thinking about her bad attitude. Here we meet another defendant who does not know when to quit, leaving the judge to take extraordinary measures to regain control.
Mr. Williams, I'm the judge in the matter. Shut your mouth, and I'll tell you when you can talk. You got it? It's the same rules we played by while we were here in trial, every time we were here for a pretrial. So just follow the same rules. Fair enough? At this point, I'm going to hear from your lawyers, and that means zip it.
Unfazed, the defendant continued to interrupt the judge.
But you not let me. That means zip it right now. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. No.
So the judge spells it out and sounds like he means business.
Listen to me. If we have to, I will gag you in 1 second. Zip it until I give you a chance to talk. You'll get a chance to talk. I am going to give you a chance to talk. Here it is again. So you said to me you understand this comment. Zip it. Let's go back. Zip it. Anything you want to add to your insanity?
But one thing will stop this defendant from talking.
Mr. Williams will have a chance to speak.
You can't blame the judge for losing his cool, but this next judge manages to keep calm in the face of one of the rudest Karens to ever step foot in a courtroom. In a bizarre trial, the defendant turns on her own lawyer.
Why don't you go yourself first?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
I said go yourself.
The lawyer doesn't seem to take offense and calmly continues.
Okay, well, I'm a little busy right now, so I'm not able to do that. Ma'am, I'm just trying to help
Ma'am,
you.
he's trying to help you, and please don't use profanity or try and disrupt my courtroom, because I don't want to be forced to hold you in contempt of court. But do not have any contact with her, and you must stay away from her home and place of business.
The defendant has said nothing since her first outburst, but she's about to show just how unhinged she really is.
As to the other case...
Who is this Cynthia Cuba? Tell me!
I thought you'll actually try to hit with the pliers. The other case, F-50-1426, the bond on count one is $5,000. Two is $5,000, and count three is $1,000. Have a nice day, ma'am.
The foul-mouthed defendant was lucky to escape without a charge of contempt. We've seen defendants arguing with judges and judges arguing with defendants, but we haven't seen a lawyer turn on a judge. Until now. The problem occurs when the defense team finds out that the original prosecutor was not present and voiced their concerns to Judge Wolliver.
All right, but I would object to going forward anyway right now without the elected county prosecutor who's on this case.
But she chose not to be here.
But that's not accurate, Judge.
Okay, okay, your objection's noted.
We had a phone status conference 2 weeks ago in which Ms. Schiff will...
Your objection is noted.
Not content with accepting the judge's word, this determined young lawyer decides to take matters into his own hands. And an unbelievable scene unfolds.
Okay.
I'm not going to participate in this proceeding without the elected county prosecutor. I think this is a sham that you're going forward.
But this judge needs to regain control of his courtroom, and this Kevin is not going to like what he hears.
You're going to sit here.
You were told about her unavailability and specifically told her on the phone not to cancel that appointment, that it wouldn't be a problem.
He clearly has a problem with the proceedings, so he is given an ultimatum.
I'll tell you what, if you want to be here for the decision, that's your business.
Your Honor, I think this is outrageous. You're going forward up.
After he stormed out of the courtroom, the case continued without him. Which leads us to one Karen who gets an attitude adjustment from a no-nonsense judge.
You know what? We're done right there. We're done.
It started off as a normal hearing over child support money. In this case, an ex-wife is asking for more to support her child. She claims her ex-husband can easily afford it.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's almost close to 100,000, give or take, like maybe 10 to 15.
Okay.
So I feel like I get a measly $600 a month from him. I feel like something's not right.
When the judge asked the ex-husband, he came up with a different figure, claiming to earn $90,000 in a good year.
What is it that you do?
I'm a mechanic.
Okay. All right. So you said 90 on the high end.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you'd think any working mother would be entitled to a little extra help from her ex-husband. But when the judge asked the ex-wife what she does for a living, her answer shocked the entire courtroom.
What do you do during the day?
Nothing.
You don't want to work?
No.
So you're just living off of his child support?
I am.
The more the ex-wife talks, the more the judge begins to side with the hard-working ex-husband.
We were living with him, and I was a stay-at-home mom. He made the income.
Okay.
But, I mean...
But you can work now, right?
I can, but...
So, but you can go get a job, right?
I could, but I'm not going to. My rent's free, my food is free. I mean, my mom's the homeowner. I don't have to pay nothing.
If this ex-wife had kept her attitude in check, she might have walked away with enough money to support herself and the child. Instead, the judge delivers a settlement that sends the ex-wife into shock.
110. So what I'm going to do is give you credit, actually, for the health insurance coverage for the child. So that will slightly bring your child support down. And monthly, yes, slightly. It's still expensive. $1,093 a month is what he would pay in child support.
That's it?
That's it. Well, it would be more if you get a job.
He would pay more if I got a job?
No, it would be more for the child if you got a job.
Your Honor.
And then the reality of the situation sinks in.
He makes more than that.
Until you bring me something in here to show me that, that's what I'm going to base it off of. And again, you can work.
Finally, we take a look at one man who sent a courtroom into total chaos. Christopher Berger Colon was attending a bond hearing in 2014 for some pretty serious charges, including harming a pregnant woman.
So I'm going to assume you have no money and you have excellent ties to the community.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, I have.
I don't say anything, so don't say anything. Don't say anything, sir, please.
You're already out on bond. You're already out.
Yes, sir. And my bondsman is willing to take me out again on a bond.
That's very kind of him, but that won't be necessary today.
When Colin hears this, he goes into a complete meltdown.
Because you're
I'll see you guys. Well, I'll see you guys in with a lawyer and a lawsuit too.
Oh, wait, bring him back, please.
And you can go yourself too.
Would you bring him back for me, please?
Come
on, come back.
Instead of calming down, an irate Colin made things worse. Much, much worse for himself.
Good morning again, Mr. Cologne.
Good morning to you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Cologne. Yeah, don't mute that. Could you turn that mic back on for me? Turn the mic back on.
Suck my. You guys can suck my. You guys can suck my. Okay? I'm being dead ass real. Suck my.
$125,000. Your bond
That's
on
no
count
problem.
2 will be $125,000. Your total
How much is my bond?
$250,000.
Colin was sentenced to 1 year in county jail for contempt of court. He later apologized to the judge, and the sentence was suspended for time served.
Well, you're gonna have fun trying to look for all the organs, so yeah, they're all. Yeah.
So you just the body too?
Yeah.
Well, what did you do with the body parts?
They're in the house.
Somewhere?
They're like,
Basement, upstairs, downstairs?
Absolutely in the basement. Out of my grandma's room. And then, I know I forgot the head. I wanted the head.
A dramatic scene unfolded in a Kentucky courtroom when a mother lunged at the man accused of murdering her 2 sons.
You will be held in contempt of this court if you become disruptive.
But Miss Hardwick does not back down, and she doesn't shut up.
I haven't done anything to this court. I haven't done anything to him.
She will be arrested for contempt of court.
It doesn't make any difference.
You will serve 10 days for contempt of court.
Most people who have any sense at all know that it is very important to be on your best behavior while in a courtroom. This is probably one of the most serious situations you could possibly find yourself in, and one wrong move can land you in a whole lot more trouble than you ever were in to begin with. You are supposed to stand when you are told to stand, and sit when you are told to sit. You should never speak unless you've been told to do so. But sometimes tensions rise in the courtroom and some people just can't keep their tempers under check. The following stories are of 3 women who lost their cool and attacked people while in the courtroom. One attacked her own lawyer, the other attacked the man who killed her 2 sons, and the last one attacked the judge. Stay tuned to see just how the courtroom reacted to these violent outbursts and find out where these women are today.
An accused killer attacked her own attorney in court. Taylor Shabusiness is accused of killing and mutilating her boyfriend a year ago in Wisconsin.
Taylor Shabusiness is one messed up lady. In February of 2022, while under the influence of illegal substances, she brutally killed her 22-year-old boyfriend, Shad Thyrion. To make matters even more horrific, she did this in the basement of her mother's home in Green Bay. Taylor removed parts of his body and then moved them all around, putting some in the house and others in a vehicle. The next part is so disturbing that it's almost hard to wrap your head around. Of all people, it was tragically Shad's mother that discovered what had happened after she went to the basement of her home and discovered her son's head sitting in a bucket. She told her boyfriend and he called 911 to report it, asking that an officer come out immediately. This is part of that 911 call.
My friend just woke me up and swears that she found her head of her son in the basement.
Imagine being woken up in the dead of sleep, only to be told that there's a severed head in the basement below you. That's what this man was trying to process during the 911 call.
Okay, tell me what's happening here again.
I have no clue what's happening. My girl swears that she's found her head of her son in the basement.
Did you go down there?
In a bucket. I went down, I can't tell what bucket. Part of my language, I'm kind of a little freaked out.
The dispatcher attempts to work with the man to piece together what could have happened, but he appears completely confused. But he does acknowledge that a girl that he didn't know well had been in the house earlier. We now know that girl was Taylor.
Whose head is it?
She's claiming it's her son.
How old is her son?
24, 25?
Has he been missing, or?
No, he was here yesterday with some chick, and then all of a sudden nobody's here.
Officers arrived at the scene not long after the 911 call came through. The whole interaction was captured on body cam footage. Watch as they immediately noticed something suspicious on the ground. As they bent down to try to determine what it was, they were startled when someone flashed the lights of a car parked right next to them.
Is this blood? Does this look like blood to you? Or am I just tripping? Bloody footprint? You see this right here?
Could possibly be blood.
Hey, who did that?
It was then that they saw a dark figure standing outside one of the nearby apartments, and they realized that it was Taylor. They wasted no time in handcuffing her.
Taylor, how's it going? Officer Russell with the Green Bay Police Department. Just make sure you ain't got nothing on you here. Taylor, you have one more for your arrest. Just put your hands behind your back, please.
The video of Taylor's arrest was played in court. After this, the arresting officer was questioned about what happened after he took Taylor into custody.
Placed her in interview room 3, I believe, where I had Officer Kenny assist me with taking photographs of what looked like smeared blood on her hands and on her clothing. I also had her remove the sweatshirt that had what appeared to be blood on it, as well as her socks and her shoes.
After Taylor was arrested, other members of law enforcement went inside the home where they spoke to both Shad's mother and his girlfriend. They both appeared to be in a state of shock over the discovery from the basement, the head in a bucket covered up with a towel.
I opened the towel, I picked up the towel and dropped it because I don't know what the f*** it is, man. I had bad vision, and she's like, is that what I think? I don't know.
After speaking with them, officers descended into the basement. At first, it looks pretty normal, just a cluttered area being used for storage. It's hard to imagine what actually happened down there, but then they could be heard muttering expletives as they came across the bucket. One officer continued to shine his light bulb at the contents of the bucket, trying to wrap his head around what he was seeing. He then asked the other officer to take a second look to confirm what they both suspected it was.
Okay. Hold on,
They then called for backup, noting that there was a significant amount of blood in the basement. While in court, he was asked later about this.
After you observed the bucket, it appeared that you walked around the basement area of the residence, is that right?
Yes, it did.
At that point, did you see any other parts of a human body?
No other parts of a human body, no.
Did you notice any areas of potential blood?
Yes.
And where was that?
Beyond the stack of mattresses, there appeared to be blood on the floor and then small chunks of human flesh.
Back at the station, a detective questioned Taylor about the events that transpired before Shad's murder. She admitted that they had been using illegal substances at the time before they began messing around. She also admitted that they sometimes enjoyed using things like chains when they were getting together, something that she claims Shad enjoyed.
Was anybody home? Did you encounter anybody? My understanding his mom lives here.
Tara?
Tara.
I don't know. Is that the mom's name?
Yes.
Damn, the head. I can't believe I let the head go.
Where'd you do the body?
The body's there.
As she spoke, it seemed as if Taylor was slowly piecing together things that she had done that night that she had totally forgotten about. She also seemed to be incredibly calm for someone who had just been arrested for brutal murder. But then, maybe the most unsettling thing is the cold and emotionless way she talks about the hunt that law enforcement will have to go on in order to find the rest of Shad's remains. She even talks about being disappointed that she wasn't able to keep certain body parts as souvenirs.
Well, you're gonna have fun trying to look for all the organs, but yeah, they're all yeah.
So you just the body too?
Yeah.
Well, what did you do with the body parts?
They're in the house.
Somewhere?
They're like,
Basement, upstairs, downstairs?
Absolutely in the basement. I was gonna bring them. And then, I know I forgot the head. I wanted the head.
She then went on to explain how she dismembered Shad's body using 4 knives that she took from his mother's own kitchen. All the while, she seems perfectly calm. There is no doubt that Taylor is a complete psychopath. But aside from that, there was still one major question remaining. Why did Taylor do this? What was her motivation?
Did you want Shad to be dead?
No, it was out of random. Like, I wasn't expecting that, and it kind of threw me off guard. And it was in an open place and all that. You went in the basement, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty open.
Well, I haven't done it, but is it?
It is. So, like, it was weird. It was really weird.
But if Taylor never actually wanted to see Shad die, why did she never attempt to get him medical supervision after things had clearly gone too far in the beginning?
It happened so fast.
So then after you realized he was no longer, he was dead, his face was purple, he said blood's going out of his mouth. What'd you do?
Clean him up a little bit. And then, I just played with him.
As horrific as it sounds, here Taylor is admitting that she took advantage of Shad's body after killing him, but before she began dismembering. This will add on to her already lengthy and horrific list of crimes that she committed that night. On February 14th of 2023, Taylor was sitting alongside her lawyer, Quinn Jolly, in Quinn County Courtroom when she absolutely lost her mind, jumped out of the seat, and tried to hit Quinn in the face. He was able to block the attack with both hands, but it took a lot of effort for the court officer to get her restrained. Take a look.
The 25-year-old was in court for a hearing when she attacked her defense attorney as he was sitting next to her. A court officer pulled her to the ground, but the defendant made it difficult for him to restrain her.
We're in the courtroom.
Even after the guard managed to get her down to the ground, Taylor continued to flail around so violently that she even kicked her orange prison slides off in the process. Luckily, the attorney was uninjured. However, after this incident, he did ask to withdraw and not be Taylor's lawyer anymore, understandably. The judge agreed and allowed him to remove himself. She was then assigned a new lawyer.
Shabusiness is still undergoing evaluations by mental health professionals to determine if she's competent to stand trial. She's charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault. She has pleaded not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect.
Taylor made it clear from the beginning that she had no intention of behaving while in the courtroom. In fact, at one point, Taylor even attempted to spit at people in court, which is why during her sentencing, she appeared wearing this strange contraption. This, which is called a spit guard, is used to keep law enforcement, court officials, and everyone else who may be around the prisoner free of disease if she were to try and spit on someone again. Prior to the judge handing down Taylor's official sentence, members of the victim's family were given the opportunity to speak. Shad's uncle was one of the ones who took this opportunity. He pointed out that a lot of people like Taylor struggled with substance use. However, that doesn't mean that you can go around doing whatever you want and still expect to get away with it.
You don't, I don't care if it's drugs or upbringing, you know. We all go through hard times growing up, at least the majority of us have. You have the opportunity to change that. You have the opportunity to, see that you have a problem. And I've been in recovery a little over 3 years. In AA, I drank for 41 years. I realized I had a problem.
He didn't hold back when telling Taylor exactly how he felt about the way that she had handled things.
It's just, basically to me, you took the easy way out. It's, you did the most cowardly, weakest things that you can do possible. You know, you meet a person in school, you say he's your friend, you become friends, you become girlfriend, boyfriend, lovers, gain his trust. An innocent person that's very kind, would do anything for you.
He finished his statement by telling Taylor that he hoped she would spend the rest of her life in prison and die there. Ultimately, it was up to the judge to decide her final fate. Keep in mind that this was the very same judge that watched Taylor's courtroom antics since the beginning. This included her courtroom attack and her continued smirks and smiles. He began by discussing Taylor's background. Unlike a lot of other people who end up turning into sadistic killers, Taylor's early life was fairly stable. She was loved well by her family members. It was later on that things went awry when her mother and brother ended up passing away suddenly.
She's worked in this community. I read over the pre-sentence investigation report that I ordered, and that outlines some work experience that she has, and I think that's a favorable character trait because, quite frankly, not everyone that lives in this community does work, and I think it indicates someone who wants to get out and support themselves and not make anybody else do it.
Finally, the judge did what everyone was waiting on and expecting. He locked Taylor up and threw away the key.
It's the decision of this court and the judgment of the law that Ms. Shabiznis be sentenced as follows. As to in 22 CF 363, count 1, that's the first-degree intentional homicide as a repeater. It's a Class A felony. I'm going to impose life imprisonment without the possibility of extended supervision. I believe that's appropriate in light of the findings that I've already made.
There is no chance that Taylor will ever be a free woman again. One aspect of this story that is also shocking is that Taylor happens to be a wife and mother. At the time of the crime, she was reportedly married to a man named Warren Chabot. She also had a 2-year-old at the time named Mateo. If there is any possible way to look on the bright side when it comes to this case, it is that this innocent child will never have to fear being harmed by his birth mother.
A dramatic scene unfolded in a Kentucky courtroom when a mother lunged at the man accused of murdering her 2 sons.
In May of 2016, Bryce Rhodes allegedly took the lives of 2 young children. Their names were Larry Ordway and Maurice Gordon. Both of the boys were killed in Louisville, Kentucky. You might be wondering, what did these teens do to be treated in such a way? Nothing, except witness a murder.
Triple murder suspect Bryce Rhodes walked back into a Jefferson County courtroom today with a judge ruling he is competent to stand trial.
As WDRB's Darby Bean tells us, it was a hearing the defense tried to keep the public and the media out of, but it remained open.
The man that Bryce was accused of killing first was Christopher Jones.
It's a case that's been pending since 2016. Bryce Rhodes is accused of killing 3 people, including 2 teenage boys. He's been in and out of the courtroom several times, known for his outbursts at previous hearings. This case was set to go to trial in January of 2022, but Rhodes' attorney asked for a competency evaluation.
If it was decided that Bryce was not mentally competent, he might have been able to avoid a trial entirely. Ultimately, though, this is not what the judge decided.
Now, Judge Julie Kalin ruled Friday that Rhodes is competent and set a trial date for December 11th, 2023.
There has been no conclusive testimony that he is incompetent.
The hearing lasted more than 2 hours and included arguments from both the Commonwealth and defense, as well as testimony from other witnesses.
Even Tom Griffiths, Bryce's personal attorney, asked the judge if it would be possible to testify for Bryce about his mental competency. The judge said no.
Strange words coming out of my mouth, Judge. I'm the last witness for the defense. The court having ruled that I'm not able to testify, that's all the witnesses that we have.
During final arguments, the Commonwealth asked the court to find Rhodes competent for trial.
He made comments about the court process that shows that he does understand what's going on. He understands the challenges that he faces.
Now, Bryce certainly has not been the ideal kind of person for a lawyer to have to defend, but at this point, Tom Griffiths is determined.
But the defense argued otherwise.
He has run off multiple attorneys, Judge. It does not make him a competent person because I haven't quit him. He will not speak to me, as is in the record, and hasn't for years.
Still, Judge Kalin ruled Rhodes can stand trial.
I don't believe that any of the evidence through testimony today is conclusive that Mr. Rhodes isn't just making the decision to not participate with his attorneys. I don't think that necessarily makes him incompetent.
Let's look at some of the ways Bryce showed crazy levels of disrespect to the courtroom process since the very beginning. Check out this clip from the very beginning of court proceedings where he nods along and smiles as the prosecutor and judge discuss certain aspects of the trial. He even seems to blow a kiss to the prosecutor, while his former attorney tries to tell him to stop. He also pretends to dust off his shoulder and pretend that nothing is being said to bother him. He further infuriated people in the courtroom by turning around and smirking at the victim's mother.
Can we do a fair trial in Jefferson County? But then another part of it is, if we have a concern, what's the alternative? Because then if we might get into a situation under the law where I'm supposed to weigh the pros and the cons.
This level of disrespect was more than the mother of the two victims could stand. She spoke out in court, causing the judge to give her a warning. He told her that if she continued to speak out of turn in court, that she would likely get kicked out. He also told her that her reaction was exactly what Bryce was looking for.
Ma'am,
Look at me.
Ma'am!
He keeps tiring.
Ma'am, I told you once before, let me please help you understand. You can't just talk out like that, okay? If you can't handle him looking at you respectfully, all I can tell you to do is don't be in my courtroom, because he's going to keep doing it, particularly now that he knows that it irritates you. So you either are able to control yourself or you're not. And I would understand why you could not. I get that completely. But I can't have you talking up in court.
While these may seem like harsh words for a woman grieving the loss of her two sons, the judge also had some for the accused killer as well.
All right, Mr. Rhodes, you're smiling. I don't know why you're smiling.
Because I can.
Well?
Because I can. It's not a crime to smile.
It's not a crime to
Continue
smile.
what you were saying.
But it doesn't help you, all right, to irritate people.
All right.
And you have a lot at stake in this case.
It's not a crime to smile, is it?
I didn't say you were committing a crime.
then.
I'm saying you're
Continue
not
what you were
helping
saying.
yourself.
This certainly was not the last time that Bryce was rude to the judge or one of the people representing him.
Accused triple murderer threatens a Louisville judge while claiming his own attorney's a racist. WDRB's Travis Ragsdale shows us what happened and why some believe he's playing the system. Travis.
Another day in court with Bryce Rhodes and another wild day with cursing and outbursts.
Your job is to do your job, not to worry about me. That's what I'm saying.
At one point, he even threatened the judge.
You're gonna find out, though. You're gonna find out real quick. Promise that.
Bryce tried to tell the judge that detectives were framing him for the 2016 murders. The defense tried their best to push back the trial, but Judge Kalin remained firm in her decision that it will take place as scheduled in 2023.
Rhodes spoke at the end of that hearing, saying he wanted new attorneys, but he did not want to represent himself. He also argued that his case should be dismissed because of police misconduct, but Judge Kalin said there is no evidence of police wrongdoing in the case.
You know, we spent so many years talking about the court proceedings with Bryce Rhodes. Sometimes I think it can overshadow that there were kids who were heinously killed in this incident.
Eventually, it was determined that Bryce is mentally disabled and has an extremely low IQ. Due to his incredibly low level of intellectual functioning, he will not be eligible for the death penalty. This is probably not the outcome that the two victims' mothers were hoping for. Watch as Mary Wren attempts to make a lunge at her son's killer in court.
Marie Wren was dragged away by court officers. She says she couldn't control herself when she saw Bryce Rhodes. He's accused of stabbing her sons and burning their bodies back in 2016. They were 14 and 16 at the time.
Listen as Marie Wren discusses what made her react in court this way.
Nobody gonna sit in court and hold their composure and have a demon
turn around and laugh about them killing their kids.
Rhodes is the only defendant left to face a possible trial in the case, according to reports. 3 others have taken plea deals, but this grieving mother says she is determined to get justice for her son.
Marie Wren says that she isn't going to rest until she makes sure that people who harmed her young sons get what they deserve. But at the same time, she is struggling to try and forgive for the sake of her own soul, which has been heavy ever since all of this happened.
Sunday you go to church and you pray and you try to forgive. The anger still builds up in your soul.
But the judge issued the mother a warning to control herself or stay home. Rhodes pleaded not guilty to the charges against him, which include murder and assault.
As of October 2023, the trial has not yet occurred. However, there is pretty much no chance at all that this man is ever going to be released. What sort of punishment do you think a man that killed 3 people, including 2 children, should face? Let us know in the comments.
It's my personal life. It's
No.
your business.
But before he could even get 1 to 2 sentences into his testimony, Melissa Hardwick has already begun to interrupt.
Imagine going to court to try to convince the judge that your wife is an accuser, only for her to prove it in front of everyone. That is exactly what Nancy Hardwick did by trying to attack a judge. The judge gave Nancy several chances to sit down and be quiet, but she didn't take them.
No.
You will be held in contempt of this court if you become disruptive.
But Ms. Hardwick does not back down, and she doesn't shut up.
I haven't done anything to this court. I haven't done anything to him.
She will be arrested for contempt of the court.
It doesn't make any difference.
You will serve 10 days for contempt of court.
As soon as Nancy learned that she was about to be thrown in jail, she freaked out and attempted to jump over the judge's desk to get to her. The judge barely batted an eye as deputies rushed to take her down and a quick scuffle unfolded. Nancy doesn't quit putting up a fight.
Get off of me!
Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
We hear her yelling and flapping around on the ground, demanding that they let her go. And the judge is just kind of sitting there looking at her, like, told you.
Even as she is about to be led away, she still has the nerve to throw one last threat at the judge.
So Ms. Hardwick decides to make her matters worse by threatening a judge, not even realizing that that could be a total separate charge.
After Nancy is led away, the judge announces to the courtroom that she will have to remove herself from the case because a new judge will need to be appointed. This is due to the threats that Nancy made against her, which will lead to new criminal charges. Nancy Hardwick was eventually charged with terrorist threats, intimidating a judge, and resisting arrest. It was actually in her favor that she never actually was able to lay a finger on the judge. If she had, she would have been looking at some major jail time. Instead, all she got was 5 years of probation and mandatory mental health evaluation and anger management courses. Does this seem like a pretty minor sentence to anyone else? Especially considering the threats she made? Meanwhile, her husband was able to get his emergency protective order against her, which was why he went to court to begin with. If there is one thing that all 3 of these women have proven, it's that acting out in court always does more harm than good. It's also clear that being able to keep your emotions in check, no matter what the circumstances are, is always going to be in your favor while in the courtroom. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more.